Welcome back. Today, I would like to talk about the Roundtable Conferences, which were a series of three important meetings held in London between 1930 and 1932. These conferences were organized by the British government after the Simon Commission report in order to discuss constitutional reforms in India. All three conferences were chaired by Ramsay MacDonald, who was the Prime Minister of Britain at that time. The main aim was to decide how India should be governed in the future and what kind of political system should be introduced. Leaders from different sections of Indian society were invited, including representatives of the Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha, and princely states. However, despite these discussions, the conferences failed to reach a final agreement. This failure clearly showed the deep divisions between the British government and Indian leaders as well as among Indians themselves. The first Roundtable Conference began on 12th November 1930 in London. It was chaired by Ramsay MacDonald. One of the biggest weaknesses of this conference was that the Indian National Congress did not participate. At that time, Congress leaders were involved in civil disobedience movement and many of them were in jail. However, other groups like the Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha, and representatives of princely states attended the conference. The discussions mainly focused on creating a federal system in India, giving more autonomy to provinces, and deciding how to represent minorities. Even though there was some agreement on the idea of a federal structure and safeguards for the minorities, the conference failed to achieve real success. The absence of Congress, which was the main political organization in India, made the discussions incomplete and less effective. The second Roundtable Conference, which was in 1931, the second Roundtable Conference was held from September to December 1931. This time, the Indian National Congress participated and Mahatma Gandhi attended as its only representative following the Gandhi Irwin Pact. The main issues discussed in this conference included the demand for responsible government, meaning that Indians should have more control over their own administration. And another major issue was minority representation, especially whether separate electorates should be given to different communities. A major conflict arose between Mahatma Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar. Gandhi opposed separate electorates for the depressed classes because he believed it would be divide Indian society. On the other hand, Ambedkar supported it as he wanted better political representation and protection for these communities. There were also disagreements with Muslim leaders regarding their political rights. Due to these conflicts, no agreement was reached and conference ended without success. Third Roundtable Conference in 1932. The third Roundtable Conference began on 17th November 1932. Like the first conference, the Indian National Congress did not participate, which again weakened the discussions. The conference had limited representation and mainly focused on reviewing the reports prepared by earlier committees. Instead of open debates, it concentrated on finalizing constitutional proposals. The outcome of this conference was the publication of a white paper in 1933. This document outlined the proposed constitutional reforms for India. Later, these proposals became the basis for the Government of India Act of 1935, which introduced important changes like provincial autonomy. However, since the Congress was absent and there was little agreement among Indian leaders, the conference itself did not achieve meaningful success. Across all three roundtable conferences, several important issues were discussed. These included the idea of federal system where power would be shared between the center and provinces, and the question of minority representation, which was one of the most controversial topics. The British government also insisted on safeguards in areas like defense and finance, which limited Indian control. Provincial autonomy and voting rights were also discussed. However, these conferences failed for many reasons. The British were not ready to give real power to Indians and continued to offer only limited reforms. At the same time, the Congress demanded full self government, leading to a conflict between the two. There were also internal divisions among Indian leaders. For example, there were disagreements between Congress and the Muslim League and between Gandhi and Ambedkar on minority issues. The minority problem remained unresolved, which later led to the Communal Award of 1932. Even though the conferences failed, they were important because they influenced future developments, especially the Government of India Act of 1935. So, how can we conclude the Roundtable Conference? The Roundtable Conferences highlighted both the challenges of unity among Indians and the unwillingness of British to grant full independence.